Welcome, everyone, to Brown Bag Bets, powered by BetSperts. We are your daily dose of quick hit handicapping and sports betting picks. I'm Alex Christensen, and joining me, as always, but on the other side of the screen today to throw you off, a little variety here, folks. How are you, Andy?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Why are we on different sides today? We need a producer. I need to hire someone. Send in your resumes. It is an unpaid position. There we go.
There we go.
Thank you. I know I could switch it, but yeah, just living that life without football. It's been 2 days. It was nice though. Basketball. I believe all your basketball plays won yesterday. I believe all my basketball plays won yesterday. There was you had a shot. You played some long shots in tennis. One of them won a set, gave you a shot, but you don't have to hit all of those to make some money. It's nice to hit some big dogs here and there, but you got to bet a lot of those to get a few. So we roll on with more Aussie Open. I actually watched some last night. I had a lot of fun like that. And, I was just talking to Drew about that. I watched it on mute. Like, again, I can't stand tennis announcers for the most part. I think that's something we need to work on as an industry, but more of that tonight and some guests this week. We'll have a golf guest. We'll have a college basketball guest. We'll have a lot of fun, even without football, because everything else is rolling on. The Aussies 2 weeks. We've got the Pebble Beach Pro-Am with a line through the Am because there's no amateurs this year. And obviously college basketball, about 8 to 10 games left for everybody before it's February 9th. We're getting dangerously close to conference tournament play. How much is left of the NBA season? Like what's the average team played? Are we get close to the halfway?
We're getting closer to the halfway point. The hypothetical All-Star break is approaching. We'll see what happens with some of the cancellations if they have to have guys play that week, but we're getting about halfway there.
Don't have an All-Star game. That just seems like a bad idea.
No, that's not going to go on. I don't think that they are. I mean, LeBron James
don't invite the Wizards
publicly against the idea of doing it, and that's usually just about enough to stop anything because it's not going to be much of an All-Star game without arguably the best player of the last however many years.
Kyrie's not going to play?
No, I don't think Kyrie's going to play. He'll probably go on vacation again. But we do have to put a bow, Andy, on the football season. As we mentioned yesterday, we finally have a winner of our Super Bowl prop contest. It was, in fact, a tie. Rayos 5460 and Max Gilson both got 12 correct, answering 75% of the questions correct. But unfortunately, Mr. Gilson Rayos did better on the tiebreaker. He had the total points at 48. You only had 54. So congratulations to Rayos 5460. On winning the first annual Brown Bag Bets Big Game Prop Contest. We'll reach out to you. Actually, you can reach out to us if you want on the Twitter account at Brown Bag Bets. If you're not watching and you don't hear this, I think that we can reach out to you some way through BetSperts. But congratulations. We'll be getting out to you with your prize pack and all that good stuff. And I'll post the results on the Twitter account later.
Yeah, we'll put up some results. I didn't even fill one out because I was ineligible. Maybe I should have done. I would have done better on props. But speaking of doing well, you had an under hit. Has that sated your hunger? Will you be
not at all
staying? Oh God, here we go.
We're going right back.
This is yesterday's play.
This is yesterday's play. It's actually the exact same banner we used. We went under 233 yesterday. I think under 232 is where I kind of drew the line. The final score, I believe, ended up being in the 220 range. So went under by very clear margin. The game went kind of the way I thought it would. The pace wasn't super fast. The offensive efficiencies for both of these teams have started to cool down after a hot period. And the market came back as they have in these 2-game series, opening with the exact same number that they closed at yesterday. So closed to 233 yesterday. We opened at 233 again today. If you follow me in the BetSperts app, you were able to grab that 233 earlier. I see now somebody here, Geesh, was saying it's 230 now. It was on the move a little bit. I would play this down to 231, maybe 230 for half a unit. It looks like there are still some 232s floating around, so maybe try to grab that sooner rather than later. But apologies if you missed that number, but that's why we have the BetSperts app, folks. You can follow us, Andy at Andy, myself at Alex Christensen. You get all this stuff before it starts to move when everybody gets up and finishes their morning coffee.
Yeah, definitely. This dropped a couple points, and I don't blame it dropping. It does remind me, we've brought up this analogy before. It reminds me of playoff basketball. and people get their panties in a bunch about playoff basketball. Like, this team just won by 30. Why are they opening? Let's say Heat Celtics series last year was a good example. Like, the Heat would be 4-point dogs every game, and then the Heat would win a game, and like, I can't believe they're opening at the same price. Like, nothing material has changed. They're the same teams. You can't make a massive adjustment off one game and expect to run a profitable sports book. So no surprise they opened it near, and no surprise it's taking steam under.
So I am looking now. It looks like it is just about 230 everywhere. If that is the case, take a look at the San Antonio team total. If you have a San Antonio team total of 115 or higher, play under that instead.
I can get down with that.
Another total here. My Philadelphia 76ers are hosting the Kings of Sacramento. Going to grab under 230.5 here. And let me check again. It seems like some stuff has moved even in the last few minutes. Looks like there's still some 230s out there. I'm happy with that. If you don't have a 230, again, look for a Sacramento team total under. Any number I would say in like the 112, 113 range under there is probably better than a number less than 230 here. But similar story, the pace here I think isn't going to be very fast. Sacramento does push the ball, but I find that Philadelphia tends to dictate pace, frankly, more than their opponents in their games. So I think what you're going to see here is the Sixers slow the Kings down a little bit, and it's just a great defensive matchup from a Sixers perspective. I struggle to see how the Kings are going to get a lot of points here. Maybe it'll be a nice game for De'Aaron Fox. The Sixers have struggled against dynamic guards like that, but every other question that the Kings are going to ask, the Sixers have an answer for. The Sixers don't mind slowing the game down when they have a lead here. So happy to grab an under. Again, we'd play this down to 230. If that number is already gone, look for a Sacramento team total under 112 or higher.
I like that, the team total angle instead. Although I've had bad luck with that. I did play like 7 NBA what do you call them? Player props. Yeah. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. I played a bunch of those yesterday. Just somebody gave me some sharp action to play on there, and I played a bunch of them at worse numbers because obviously I'm a fish when it comes to that. So it was fun trying to figure out which teams, which players played for which teams. And I'm like, I don't know who this guy plays for anymore. And one of them was Steph Curry threes. Like, that was, I figured that one out. That was easy. I believe he had that maybe at halftime. He ended up with at least 4 last time I checked. So, all right. Well, I wish you luck in the association. Hopefully, like you did yesterday. Hopefully, my plays go off without a hitch as well today. I only have one. There's a lot of canceled games today. There's a lot of postponed games. There's a lot going on. There's a pandemic still, I guess. But I did find one I liked. I saw this move to -1, and then I saw other books move it to +1. You'll have that. I mean, that's a thing when it's right around to pick 'em. Games don't end in ties very often in college basketball, so the value of 0 is very negligible, and you'll see a little bit of money will take it to -1 because there's not a high push probability anyway. So if you can find this at a +1, I would play the money line. If your book has +1, just play the money line. I'd never do take a +1. If your book is hanging -1, don't pay extra for the money line. Lay the points. Just take the -1, -110 instead of laying it for 15 or 20 cents on the money line. But I did play this money line at most places. I put this in it this morning. I like this one quite a bit. I have them similarly ranked. That is Bowling Green and their opponent, Kent State. They're both top half of the league, MAC teams. They played, I'm trying to think how long ago this was. Bowling Green's 0-5 their last 5 games. They played Kent State at Kent State about a week and a half ago. Absolute track meet, 96-91. Everybody was shooting lights out. Kent State won by 5. Bowling Green hasn't won in 5 games. They haven't covered in 5 games. But I love, and we do have the Nogu injury. I don't take players into account all that often, but there are a few players I will check on. I mean, our big guys are, for the most part, our 2 super seniors are playing. It should be a good game. I always joke about how I don't watch these games. Like, if this one's on TV, I might even find a stream. I might watch this game. There are some pretty good players for both these teams. Pippen and Larson. I think, yeah, it's Larson. So just the minus
Larsa Pippen?
one. Not Larsa Pippen. That's all.
Not Scottie
That's all-
Pippen's wife.
That's a whole different thing.
Those are
Turner,
two different
Justin
people.
Turner. I don't know why I said Larson. Justin Turner for Bowling Green, Danny Pippen for Kent State. Should be a good matchup. And yeah, I made this like almost -3. I don't do much for home court when it comes to basketball, so I'm using a pretty minute home court as it is, and I still make this -3. So I like Bowling Green. That's the only thing I had today. I put it into the BetSperts app earlier. You can find me there, like Noops said, just Andy.
Nice and easy, folks. That's how we like it.
Nice and easy. Yeah, I mentioned I stayed up, watched some tennis last night. I didn't catch a lot. I watched Rublev just toying with his food, just dismantling Yannick Halfman. He looks really good. Drew brought this up earlier when I spoke with him about the probable Medvedev Rublev rematch in the, what would it be, quarterfinal?
I
rematch?
think that's to let me
To
pull
get
up
to
the
the
draw
quarter?
here. I think it's either in the quarterfinals or to get to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, regardless, they will play each other eventually if they keep winning. And Medvedev has had Rublev's number, but man, Rublev is looking really good. He hit some angles that were scary if you're betting against him or playing against him. So very much looking forward to that as we get further. And maybe it's because it's the only match I really watched so far, and I'm excited for Andre. But you have
It
some
will be
matches.
it will be the quarterfinal, by the way, and I think maybe what Whale was talking about. I mean, the path have opened up for both. The big contenders that they have in their quarters got knocked off. Medvedev is probably going to have to beat Krajinovic. That might not be the easiest thing in the world on fast courts, but that's going to be an awesome quarterfinal.
I think so.
But
Women's
got some
tennis.
time before that happens.
Yeah,
Might as well bet some tennis tonight while we wait, don't you think?
I think so.
All right.
What have you got?
Let's-
I don't have any plays tonight. Although the one that I pretended was mine, that I mean, I gave Drew credit, the Dan Evans over that went 4 sets. I think there's 42 games. I believe it was in No Doubt.
It's
Once we
42.
got to, yeah, it went 10-10-10. So we went into the 4th set with 30 games. I just
You needed a couple from the other guy. Just
yeah, I needed
to
a couple
avoid
from Evans.
the blowout.
Yep. So 1-0 in tennis picks, yay! And
Love
I think you're about due to hit a total here because Ostapenko let us down. She went full Penko. We got 12 games out of the first set, and she went full pout Penko on our ass, and it sucked because it fell a half game short. I actually played it up to 21, so that sucked. But what's your you got a total for the day?
Yeah, we do. We're going to grab over 21 here. Zarina Dias is playing Bernarda Pera, which is kind of one of the more surprising second-round matches in a Grand Slam here. But two kind of workman-like players, very strong serves. I think there is a chance that this goes 3 sets here, but very similar to the Mahova-Ostapenko match yesterday. I think we're going to see a 7-5, 7-6 first set, and I think the second set again will be somewhere in the 6-3, 6-4 range. To touch on yesterday a little bit, Ostapenko is tough. There is some tennis players that I don't want to say that they give up, but maybe they don't try as hard once things get tough, and that's kind of what happened yesterday. But I think both of these players, we're going to avoid that here today. So happy to grab over 21 with Zarina Dias and Bernarda Pera. Now, have you ever heard of either one of them, Andy?
Yes, I know Pera. It's an easy name.
We're going to grab a couple more underdogs here. We'll start with Camilla Giorgi. She is 3-1. A very fun player to watch, frankly. Very easy on the eyes. If you're trying to get into tennis, I would suggest her as an Instagram follow. But a really fun player to watch in the court as well. Hits the ball extremely hard, has a lot of physical gifts. There's a concept in tennis, it's called redlining, and it's a little hard to explain. It's like being on fire, basically, like in the NBA Jam game.
NBA Jam,
where you just kind of elevate to this level where for some reason you just can't do any wrong. All of a sudden you're hitting the ball hard, it's painting lines, and Giorgi is a player that really accesses that a lot. She is going up against Iga Swiatek here. Now, Swiatek is one of the best players on tour. She is a young gun, but Giorgi at this number is something that I'm kind of always going to do. I think that the market underestimates the value of certain players' top potential. When I start to look at this, I have this more, frankly, in the 2-1 range. I'd probably maybe hang plus 250 if I was taking bets myself, but see some value here in the 3-1. So I'm going to grab Georgie, and then might look for some alternates there, maybe her at plus 1.5 sets, but just there for the money line to start.
Tennis timeout. Rico DeGaio, smart guy. I still share one of his articles about buying points in the NFL to this day. Any correlation between underdogs and the over in tennis?
I found that there's a correlation the other way. I think there is absolutely a correlation between favorites and unders. For those that aren't familiar, tennis has a closed scoring system. And what that means is there's a very finite amount of outcomes. Unlike a basketball game or a football game where you could have any amount of points scored, there is no top. There is no ceiling. Those scores could just go forever and ever and ever. The way tennis is
ceiling
scored,
is the roof.
That's right. The way tennis is scored, you have a very limited number of outcomes. So as matches start to progress, it becomes mathematically very hard for a favorite to cover a -4, a -5, a -6 as the match goes longer and longer. Conversely, though, I don't see that on the other side. A lot of times what you'll see from underdogs is they'll win a tight set. They might win a first set tiebreaker, the first set 7-5, and then you'll see the other player kind of find some form there and then win the next set 6-2, 6-2. It's close. I think that there might be a connection more than a correlation there. But keep looking into it. Rico, reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk more about it specifically and share with you some of kind of the data and stuff that I've looked at over the years. But there's definitely a correlation between favorites and unders. And if you have a particular PPH book, you can actually parlay those together. They shouldn't let you do that. But if you have a local bookie account, go in and grab a -5 and like an under 19 or under 20 and see if they'll let you parlay that together. And if they do, you should do it.
Tennis is really funny, like Alex just alluded to with the closed scoring system. Things can get weird in a hurry. Like you can know you're dead on a handicap, whereas like basketball, it's like, there could be some fouling, or football, you can have a late score. Like there's a certain point where, the match isn't done yet, but I can turn it off because I need them to cover -4, and just mathematically they can't win that many more games. So, there are times where, people look to, I think this underdog has some good defense in a soccer match. Should I bet the underdog? Should I bet the draw? Should I bet like the handicap? Or should I just bet the under, where I think this underdog can keep the match close? There's not going to be a lot of scoring to a heavy favorite. And sometimes you run into that with this in tennis, and it turns into a hilarious situation where it says, I like the favorite. I think he is going to crush this guy, to the point where the other guy will not score. The other guy will not win many games. I foresee something like 6-1, 6-1. So instead of laying a big handicap, you just bet under like 20 games, under 18 games, and the favorite just never shows up. He is awful. He or she plays terrible tennis, gets the shit kicked out of him. You are so incredibly wrong with your handicap that you win your bet. Where there's, when you have the under and the underdog wins the first set, at that point you have to completely switch who you're cheering for. Say, well, I need the underdog to win the second set. I need the favorite to quit. I've had this happen a few times. There's maybe not another sport where you can be so incredibly wrong in a bet and still win it like that. That maybe my favorite wins have been taking an under in like a big heavy favorite and watching the dog cover, get that home for you by winning in straight sets. So that's why I love tennis betting.
It's one of the most interesting sports in terms of the aggravation of trying to figure out, should I bet the money line, the total, the spread, the player total, some sort of other stuff. Should I bet plus sets? Should I bet plus games? It's part of the fun of doing it, but also the frustration of doing it. But let's go onward. I do have another underdog. This is a huge one. Nina Stojanovic is 12-1. Now, she's 12-1 because she's playing Serena Williams. I would play this down to 10-1. There's some variability on this number. This is just way too big of a number, playing against somebody in Serena Williams who has shown a propensity for, frankly, getting outworked by younger players. Nina Stojanovic is a younger upcoming player. She is going to really put Serena through the loop if Serena's not hitting her spots and serving very, very well. So I'm also going to play some derivatives of this. I'll post them on BetSperts, probably a game spread, maybe a set spread, something like that, maybe even like a first set money line kind of thing. But I just see the market having too much value here on Serena Williams. So happy to line up here on the underdog. Again, at 12-1, this is certainly not a lock by any stretch of the imagination. There's a lot of times where she's going to go out and Serena's going to win this 6-1, 6-2. Heck, she might even go 6-0, 6-0. But more times than I would say, it's with the implied probability on 12-1 is 1/13, so like 7-8%. I think she wins this match well over that amount of time. So a small play here. I think I have 0.1, 0.2 units or something on there, but give it a little sprinkle and look as I post some alts later.
Yeah, this happens. 10-1 dogs hit. And it's funny, there has been a double bagel on the women's side. There has been a 6-0, 6-0. I think it was Barty that laid that down. So yeah, there are some beatdowns. Things happen.
Finally, we'll have a parlay here. Put together 3 favorites. Elena Rybakina, Ons Jabeur, and Veronika Kudermetova. Put all 3 of them together at -115. I know that people sometimes don't love parlays, but when I look at these numbers, I put all 3 of these together. I get closer to -145, almost -150 here. I think that these are absolutely overwhelming favorites. Jabeur is playing Shmedlova, an older player, on her way out. Jabeur is just absolutely going to have no trouble there. I mean, the only bad thing that could happen is she gets hurt, and then we get a retirement and void and still have it and have a 2-piece parlay instead of 3. Kudermetova and Rybakina, 2 of the better young players on tour, just playing 2 opponents who are just going to be overmatched here, not on their preferred service, not at a level that they're used to playing. So happy to put all 3 of these together, see some value there in the market on their money lines. But again, don't love the spreads here. I mean, I would have to lay 5 games with a lot of juice on Jabeur, 5 games with a lot of Rybakina with a lot of juice. Similar story with Veronika Kudermetova. And 5 is a fairly key number when it comes to tennis, especially in the women's side. You want to be less than 5 if you're a favorite. You want to be more than 5 if you're an underdog. So, again, instead of taking those spreads and maybe having a little more risky position, I'll just kind of put all 3 of them together because I still see some value there.
I dig it. And I'm probably going to imbibe in those big underdogs today. I'm feeling it. I never want to say the word do because that's such a bad way to approach these, but I do like the handicap, and I like betting against Serena ever since she did that to my girl Naomi. So, recap life. Bowling Green, the Fighting Falcons of Bowling Green, minus the versus Kent State tonight. That one's at like 7 Eastern. I'm assuming your games are evening. I don't think there's any day NBA today, so no. I'll assume those are both. And real quick, you want to touch on those again. Philly, Sacramento under, and San Antonio, Golden State under. Which team totals would you approach if you can't get those numbers anymore?
Yeah, if these numbers are gone, look for a Sacramento team total under and a San Antonio team total under. Again, for Sacramento, we're hoping for 112 or better. For San Antonio, 115 or higher. We'll grab the unders there again if you missed the full game numbers.
And Rybakina, Ons Jabeur, Kudermetova, parlay, Diaspera over 21. I didn't even spell Georgie right. Groggy, it's Georgie, Giorgi, plus 300. Stojanovic, 12-1 as a long shot, deep pass, Hail Mary underdog. It kind of takes care of the rest of the tournament if you hit one of those. Like don't bet a full unit.
No.
Go a little smaller than that. Yeah, go real small on some of these. So, all right, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll talk some of the. I need to come up with something because it's not the Pro Am. There's no Am, so just the Pebble Beach Pro / nothing.
The Pebble Beach Pro.
Yeah, the Pro. We'll talk the Pro tomorrow. More basketball, more tennis, and. Maybe even, I think NASCAR's right around the corner. I got to get some NASCAR and hockey guys in there too. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for joining us. Make sure to follow us on BetSperts. Support the sponsor if you're in one of the states where you can get on WinBet. $1,000 risk-free bet in Michigan. $500 if you're in Colorado or Jersey. And we'll try to get in contact with the fellow who won the prop contest. And thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, Reyes, if you're out there, we're looking for you.
Looking for you.